Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of RPS Live. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We have a great show lined up tonight to talk all about Pride Month here at RPS. Before we dive into that, I do want to share just a few announcements, a couple of dates that you should know about. First, the last day of school is now Thursday, June 17th. It was Friday, June 18th, but we will be observing the holiday of Juneteenth, which actually falls on Saturday, June 19th. We'll be observing it on Friday, June 18th. So our last day of school is Thursday, June 17th. And that is going to be an early release, just like a Wednesday schedule. So again, Wednesday schedule for Thursday, June 17th is the last day of school for students and teachers. So we're just about 10 school days away from the end of the year. Second, I want to note that our meal distribution is going to be a little bit different starting next Monday through the end of school. We will have our bus deliveries on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We won't be doing Tuesdays and Thursdays due to some testing and the need to transport students for the testing. So again, we'll have the bus deliveries of meals on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But I also want to note you'll be able to pick up 2 meals on each of those days to cover for the off days. Also, all of our school sites that have walk-up, pick-up for meals will be available Monday through Friday. You can get all that information in my RPS Direct tonight or on our website at rvaschools.net/meals. Last, I just want to remind everyone that our Scholastic Standouts, these are the top 5th graders, 8th graders, and seniors all across RPS, will be honored in a virtual ceremony June 10th at 6 p.m. And you can catch it on our Facebook page or YouTube channel, but please take a moment to join in the celebration again, June 10th at 6 p.m. to honor our Scholastic Standouts. All right, let's turn to our topic of this evening, Pride Month here at RPS. And we have 4 wonderful guests. I'm going to start with Felix Hedberg. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how you identify?
Yes, hi, my name is Felix Hedberg. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a sophomore at Open High School and I identify as a queer woman.
Thank you, Felix, for being here tonight. Next, we have, I need to pull up my screen here, Shekinah Vincent. Can you introduce yourself and how you identify? Shekinah, I think you might be on mute. We are having that very normal thing that happens during our virtual year, which is a little bit of tech difficulty. So Shekinah, take a second, see if you can figure that out. I'm going to go to Miss Field. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and how you identify?
Hi, my name is Rebecca Field. My pronouns are she, her, and I also identify as a teacher in RPS.
And where do you teach and what do you teach?
I teach at John Marshall High School, home of the Justices, and I teach art.
Thank you, Ms. Field, for being here. And we have, last but not least, Matthew Stanley. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Matthew Stanley. I am at RPS as the Director of Advocacy and Outreach, and I identify as a gay man. And just really proud to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Matthew. Matthew is usually on the other side of these calls, making sure they all go right. We're thrilled to have you as a featured guest tonight. And Shekinah, do you think we got it now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So as I said, my name is Shekinah Vincent. My pronouns are she, her, and I identify as a lesbian.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, Shekinah. Let me start with you and Felix. I would love for you to share, to the extent you're comfortable, a little bit more about your experience being an LGBTQ plus student here in RPS. What's that journey been like for you as you have found your identity? Shekinah, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, being a lesbian in school, it hasn't, me personally, I haven't been really affected because of my sexuality, just because I'm not out to everybody, because I feel it's like not everyone's business. So it hasn't really affected that. But in my home and internal life, it's really affected a lot. And it it's just been a struggle, but I pursued through, and I'm very happy and proud to say I'm a lesbian.
If you're comfortable, is there anything you want to share about that struggle?
Um, like just in my home life, my parents are very religious, so they didn't really come around to it. So it was very, I wish I could put it into words. It was just very hard because I couldn't come out like how I wanted to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And did your experience at school, was it supportive? Did it help you through some of that, or was it not supportive?
Mainly supportive, but it was kind of like halfway supportive. It's like, I love you for who you are, but I don't really accept the fact that does that make sense? It was kind of like, I love you because you're my daughter, but I don't like the fact that you are a lesbian. That came from my dad. My mom was really kind of more accepting. She was like, I understand. Like, and she went through her phases too as a person, growing up.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that cannot be easy.
No problem.
Felix, what about you? What has your experience been like at RPS?
Yeah, so I've had my own journey, and starting in middle school, I really started discovering that, wait, I'm not this default straight woman, things are different for me. And I was also lucky enough to come to that conclusion with a group of wonderful friends who also have varying identities within the LGBTQ plus community. And I really got to see their varying struggles alongside mine. A lot of them also faced bullying in our school, and that was really hard to see, especially facing from other students facing that violence. And also, some of them didn't have accepting families, and so we all kind of went through that journey together, which was what felt really powerful. And I was really grateful to have had teachers who were supportive, and that was really a lifesaver.
Are there any teachers in particular you want to mention who really impacted you and supported you through that?
I can't name anyone specifically. I would just say that honestly, most every single teacher was really supportive in their own way, and just being consistent, being there. And sometimes when things in your life are a little crazy, sometimes all you need is someone who's just like there for you and is like there doing their thing every single day. So.
And the group of friends who were very supportive, was that a group that you developed in high school, or was that even earlier in middle school?
Yeah, some of them I met in middle school. Some of us, we've continued to be friends in high school, and yeah.
And in your journey coming out and sharing your identity, has that strengthened those friendships? Has it created challenges? How has that been?
Yeah, I'm really lucky that my family has been supportive, and all of my friends have. It's been sort of the thing, like, we all knew, like, there was almost no coming out in our friend group, because it was like, okay, who's next? That sort of thing.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Felix. Ms. Field, we know that our LGBTQ plus students have many allies. We just heard from Felix and Shekinah, but you've taken on a special role at JM, sponsoring a club called Pride Paradise. So tell us a little bit about what that is and kind of what led you to put that together.
Sure. So this is only my second year teaching at John Marshall. And when I started teaching in the community, I realized there was a real need for kids to be able to come together and hang out and have a place where they felt safe and were just able to like relax and have fun. And so we Shekinah actually was one of our founding members, and she was in my art class, and we just started, like talking, and I asked her if maybe she was interested in like getting some people together, and she was all for it. She was really positive about it. Especially me coming in there as new and kind of like stepping on people's, in people's territories. And so she was really, she and a whole bunch of people were really open-minded and really into creating a community. And so we just sort of came together. I think we played with blocks a little bit. We watched a movie. And most of the time I stayed out of the conversations so that they could just have a place where they felt like that they could develop friendships. And it was just, it just got off the ground and really started to thrive when COVID hit. So very much looking forward to starting it back up next year. But it just has been really great and just a really great place for students just to feel safe and to feel loved. And we laugh a lot. So,
well, that sounds like paradise to me. Shekinah, can you tell us what has that experience meant to you, and tell us a little bit more about these blocks? Because I'm excited to learn more about this.
What it meant to me, it was very kind of shocking when the idea first came up, because no one ever wanted to make a group, specified to LGBTQ plus kids. So I was like, okay, but like once I heard the idea, I was very excited. And yeah, and what was the other question? I'm sorry.
Well, just paint a picture if there is a student watching or a teacher watching and they would like to do something similar to this. Can you tell a little bit more, like what is the experience like? How often do you meet? How did you let people know about it? Were there any challenges?
Okay, so I believe we met on either Wednesdays or Thursdays, because I haven't been there in a while, so I don't know the exact day, but I believe it was Wednesdays or Thursdays. And we kind of just, me and my best friend actually, we kind of just walked around the school like, hey, you want to join? Or we like told other people about it. And the way to get it started, like advice to get started, is just to do it. Like there's like, don't really plan it, or you can just like kind of put the idea out there and put some effort towards it, and it can really become a beautiful thing.
I love that. Just do it. I think sometimes we overthink things and we think we need to have some special expertise or permission, and really it just takes some passion and some time, and just go for it. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Matthew, we've got a lot of great things happening in our schools, but you also lead our advocacy work at the state level. So can you tell us about some of the policies that you have been advocating for, that RPS has been advocating for in support of LGBTQ plus students and families and staff, and how can folks continue to support those efforts?
Yeah, thank you, Jason. The last 2 years have been amazing. There have been so many wonderful policies that have been changing at the state level. Virginia has a history for not always being the most welcoming state. We have Virginia is for lovers as a state slogan, but that's not always necessarily been true. So the last couple of years, we've actually seen our state legislators make some really great progress. This year, they passed, and I was looking at Equality Virginia. That's a great advocacy organization who does a lot of this work. I was looking at their website earlier and looking at kind of their legislative accomplishments from this year. They were tracking 11 different wins, 11 different policies that changed this year that affect LGBTQ plus Virginians. One big thing is that there is constitutional amendments coming to the state that will take away the language in the Virginia Constitution that prohibits same-sex marriage. So that it's legal now thanks to the US Supreme Court, but our state constitution still has that language in it. So that will all hopefully be removed soon. This year they established a LGBTQ plus advisory board to the governor. So now we have a state body that will actually be looking at LGBTQ plus policies on a regular basis and advising the governor on how to make this a more friendly and inclusive state.
Are you on the board?
I'm not. No.
How do we?
I don't
how
think
do
we
we
made
get
his
on the
appointments
board?
yet. It's the governor's prerogative.
All right.
So what else did they do? They did so many things. They established a legal pathway this year for parenthood for unmarried LGBTQ plus couples. Virginia has been a really tough state to do LGBTQ plus unmarried couple adoptions in, and this will help create a pathway for that. And there's a number of other important bills. I encourage you to go check out Equality Virginia's website. They've got a great rundown of all of this. But one of the things that I think is really important, I want to make sure everybody is aware of tonight, is that this year policies are going into effect that the General Assembly actually passed a bill in 2020 requiring, where VDOE created model policies for the treatment of transgender students. And so after the 2020 session, there was an advisory work group. I was able to serve on that and help advise a lot of these model policies that every single school division in Virginia is now going to have to put into place. The policies address things like bullying and discrimination, student privacy and confidentiality, making gender markings not really available to the average staff person to see. Chosen name policies, so students can change their name and not be it's called using a dead name, is when you call a transgender student by their birth name, and that causes a lot of mental stress and anxiety for students. And there's a lot of statistics out there that show that LGBTQ plus students that are subjected to discrimination or misgendering or called by their dead names, they're much more likely to not attend school, to have lower GPAs. And so, these are policies that are just really important to ensuring that our schools have safe, loving, inclusive environments, making some consistency across the state. And we're just really excited to help those be put into place. I know RPS has already made some great strides. We started a chosen name policy this school year, and this coming school year, that will be formalized even more. Right now, it was just kind of a change in your Google profile. Next year, it will actually be a field in our Aspen, our student information system, so that we can kind of, from the data end, make sure that a student's name is listed the way that they want it to be in all the rosters and other records that teachers are getting. I think 2 years ago, we started having gender neutral graduation gowns. So there's been a number of things that have been happening, and there's more to come. And so we're really excited about all of that. As far as what you can do, first of all, there's a lot of awesome organizations out there that are doing great advocacy work at the state level, at the national level. Some of them are doing really great work right here in Richmond. I mentioned Equality Virginia, that's the statewide LGBTQ plus advocacy group. There's GLSEN, it's spelled GLSEN, and that is a national organization that advocates for the rights of LGBTQ plus students, specifically in schools. And so they've informed a lot of these policies that are happening at the national level. And then there's Side by Side. It's a local organization that supports transgender youth. And they've just been doing amazing counseling kind of support groups for our transgender minor students. So a lot of wonderful groups out there. I encourage you to check out their websites and see what they're doing. A lot of the times they are often posting current advocacy opportunities that exist out there, ways to get involved. All of this comes down to making, advocacy work, making that a reality in your life. As Shikani said, just do it. Reach out to your legislators, reach out to your school board members, reach out to your city council officials. These are all individuals that can help make these changes a reality. And so it just comes down to reaching out to them and making those relationships. But I will say that I think like the most important way that any single one of us can advocate for LGBTQ plus students is to just be an ally to them, to listen to them, to make sure that they feel respected, that they are being identified properly. As I was saying, 84% of transgender youth feel unsafe at school. And those who feel victimization, they are much more likely to have lower GPAs, miss school because of their concerns for their own safety, and are less likely to continue their plans for education. So, staff and friends and family just wrapping around these students and making sure that they feel supported and that bullying and harassment is not going to be tolerated. That's really one of the most important ways that I think we can all advocate for LGBTQ plus students. So I know that was a lot, but I think it just comes down to loving one another and making sure that people feel loved.
Amen. Gosh, so many great nuggets in there. Thank you so much for sharing those organizations, and your final statement is very, very powerful. You also mentioned some of the things we are doing, have been doing at RPS, but of course we can always do more. And so I'd like to ask Felix first, and then Shekinah, what more can RPS do to support LGBTQ plus students, families, staff? And Ms. Field, I'll ask you as well. What would you like to see?
Yeah, so I think mainly two things. I'd love to see like sort of leaning into restorative justice healing practices in schools when it comes to when someone is a victim of bullying. I know that a lot of people who I know who are victims of bullying in schools due to their identities, it was really a question of, I personally need healing, and I recognize that the person who is the perpetrator may need healing too, and I don't necessarily want to inflict further pain. I want healing for myself. And so I think, I saw a lot of, unfortunately, sort of botched jobs of people trying to fairly enforce these sort of policies against perpetrators where they were let off with a warning, and it was like, okay, they're going to end up retaliating against other students. They're not getting space put in between them and their perpetrator. So I'd really love to see a lean into restorative justice. How can we really put power back in the hands of the victim? How can we make sure that they're getting access to mental health support? So I guess that leads into my second one, which I'd love to see more like counseling and mental health support in schools, especially because we know LGBTQ plus students are at unique risk for suicide attempts, for facing anxiety and depression, and that manifests in school performance. But just in general, I don't think, regardless of how that impacts your school performance, no one deserves to have to struggle with those issues. So I'd love to see more counseling in schools that isn't sort of performative in the way that you go and you get your check and a counselor may say, oh, are you suicidal? They'll call your parents, and it's sort of a check off the box sort of thing. I'd love to see more counselors who are available. You check in with them in a way that you would sort of a professional. So yeah.
Thank you. Those are excellent suggestions. So I will certainly keep them both in mind, both from a budget perspective, but also from a training perspective, as we prepare to come back for next year. Shekinah, same question.
My answer to the question would be, because she had all the targets, but mine would be to talk about it more. Yeah, that was to talk about it more. Like, it's very, sorry, I can't get my words together today, but I just wish that the schools and just will talk about it way more than they do. And to put it out there, like, let people know that it's okay. Sorry.
No need to apologize. Are there, besides the Paradise Group, are there any opportunities to talk about experience of being LGBTQ plus in school, or is it really just amongst your friends and there's not a broader conversation?
It's just amongst the friends, not, yeah.
I see Felix nodding the same.
I wish it was a broader.
And if you were to kind of orchestrate a broader conversation, what would you like that to look like?
Maybe I don't know if this is the correct example, but
We lost you.
kind of school announcements, like on school announcements, or maybe like prom. I did talk to Miss Fields about the prom thing, because there's not just him and her anymore. It's so many different genders and identities. They should definitely add it into the prom so it could be more.
You're going in and out, but I definitely heard things like prom. It's not, I think you said it's not just him and her anymore, and being more thoughtful about those kinds of things. I think I heard you say something about announcements, and I'm assuming you were just talking more about it, not so that it's just kind of a regular old thing. It's not such a big to do, so to speak. Is that kind of what you were saying? Okay, I see you nodding. I can't hear you, but I see you nodding. All right. Felix, anything else you wanted to add? I saw you nodding a little bit there too. Just want to give you an opportunity as well.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the only time we really discuss LGBTQ plus individuals in school is sort of in like a debate sort of way, where we're talking about, do transgender students have the right to use gender affirming bathroom accommodations? And it's sort of in this very dehumanizing way, especially given the broader political context. People don't want to call students by their preferred pronouns. And so it's very dehumanizing to kind of see that outside of the context of LGBTQ plus people as individuals, as students who deserve to be treated fairly. And I'd also love to see more teaching of LGBTQ plus history. I think especially during Pride Month, we can see sort of commercialization of identity. And it's like, Pride has very radical roots. Like this was Pride, the first Pride was a police riot. It was Black trans women standing up. So I think that I'd really love to see history as well included.
Also excellent ideas and thoughts to take back to the history team to make sure that we're addressing that. Ms. Field, let me jump to you. What can you as a staff member say, to other staff that staff can do to be supportive and to make sure that young people like Felix and Shekinah feel loved and embraced for who they are, and that they feel just as much a part of the school experience as everybody else?
So I can't stop smiling. Like the things that are being said here are brave and really important. And so Shekinah and Felix, like, I'm just proud, even though Felix, I don't know you very well, I'm still pretty proud of you coming and talking about all this. As a teacher, we have really big responsibilities, as Felix was talking about, it can be small steps. I think sometimes teachers get stuck in not knowing what to do, and so they don't do anything. They want to help and they want to be supportive, but they're stuck because they just are scared. Start with putting your pronoun in your email, so that when students see, oh, this teacher is thinking of a pronoun, then they know that they're probably open to talking about identity, and put it on the student, information sheet at the beginning of the year. Like, what do you identify as? And that's just kind of showing I'm open to, treating you like I'm treating everybody else. And then also just in terms of teaching and curriculum, I am very adamant about everything that I teach. Every artist that I introduce in class, I talk about their sexuality in terms of what they identified as or what they were struggling with. And it just becomes a normal part of the curriculum that you're talking about this, just like you're talking about, the artwork itself. It just has to become part of what we talk about all the time. And, just like Shekinah was saying, it's just got to be normalized. It's got to be just part of who we are as a community. And I think that teachers do have a lot of questions. And I think training would be wonderful, but just, opening your heart and saying, look, we all want to know each other. And I know teachers want to be as supportive as possible. That's why we do our job. So just keep learning and just keep supporting and asking questions, because I ask a lot of questions, being a 47-year-old straight lady. I ask a lot of questions because they're my students are the experts. So,
and if there's a staff member out there watching and they wanted to chat with you, what's the best way to contact you?
Oh, wait. Well, so I have an Instagram on right now. Each day in June, I am the art department at John Marshall is featuring a queer artist every day. So on our Instagram is Justice Fine Arts. And then they can email me at rfield@rvaschools.net, and I'd be happy to chat and hang out and brainstorm with people.
Thank you. Felix and Shekinah, if there is a student watching tonight, or maybe a parent or a teacher of a student who might be struggling to come out or share their identity, any advice, any words of wisdom?
Can you all hear me on the computer?
You're faint. You can hear. You can get closer.
Can you all hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak very loud.
Okay.
So I hope that my first piece of advice is to make sure that you are safe and you feel comfortable with confiding in people and the people around you, that your sexuality is, you know who you are. That's my piece of advice.
Thank you, Shekinah.
No problem.
Felix?
Yeah, I would say I think there's a lot of pressure to have a perfect coming out story and kind of to be this perfect happy thing, and it's a big celebration, and I think that can kind of be a barrier for folks who that isn't an opportunity that they may have. And so I think it's okay if your coming out story isn't perfect, if you come out when you're 30, if you come out when you're 4. So I think that's important, and I think also recognizing that especially there's going to be a lot of healing involved, especially if there's harm, and that healing isn't always linear, and there are going to be times when you feel really bad. There are going to be times when other people harm you, and the best thing you can do is find ways to heal, whether that's meditation or going to school and finding that teacher that really supports you. So it's a journey, but I think you can hope, and it's going to get better.
Thank you, Felix. All right, I'm going to wrap up with one more question. I'll start with Matthew, and then Miss Field, and then Felix, and then Shekinah. And the question is, this is Pride Month, so what are you proud of as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, or as an ally? What are you proud of?
Thanks, Jason. So every beginning of Pride Month, I think about this question, and the answer changes. But yesterday was the first day of Pride Month, and as I was leaving City Hall, they were actually raising the Pride flag at City Hall. And it just made me so proud that I get to work in a building where there's a Pride flag raised. I get to work for a city that recognizes this and loves all Richmonders for who they are, that I get to work for a school system that allows me to advocate and push the envelope on LGBTQ rights for students at the state level to benefit all students across the state. I feel very lucky and very proud of our city, of our school system, of the amazing staff, of the amazing students that we have that are all ready to advocate for others. So just very proud to be here.
Thank you, Matthew. Ms. Field?
So our principal at John Marshall, Ms. Murray, has this statement that has become just a mantra that everybody says at John Marshall, and that's "We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it." And I think that I'm so proud of the community that I've joined, and the teachers and staff and students in late in my career that have just embraced me and all my weirdness. And I just and I'm proud of the my Pride Paradise kids, which they chose their own name, by the way. Paradise to me, includes like a hot tub and stuff, but we do what we can do. And just so proud of my students for being brave and for just laughing with me all the time. And I'm just really proud to be part of the community.
Thank you so much. Felix?
Yeah, I would say I'm proud of myself for reaching this part of my journey. I think that smaller Felix would be really proud of me and be like, whoa, what's she doing? But I'm also really proud of the community who's like continuing to push the envelope for what Pride Month is and what's outside of Pride Month, Black trans women, Black people of color, Latinx people of color, undocumented people of color who are continuing to like hold us accountable for supporting all queer people and not just people who we find it convenient or palatable to support.
Thank you, Felix. And Shekinah?
I'm proud of my whole community, like my whole LGBT community, because from where we were to where we are now is such a huge change. And I'm just so proud to say that, I'm a part of this huge change that's coming about.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, I'm gonna steal Principal Murray's phrase, and Felix and Shekinah, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Same goes for you, Ms. Field and Mr. Stanley. I'm so grateful that the four of you came on tonight and shared your story. And I know it cannot be easy to share some of those experiences. So on behalf of the system and on behalf of everybody watching, and you never know, there's a student out there or a parent out there who might be watching or catch this on a recording, and your words may change their life. I think both students, you mentioned that even a small word of support can really change everything for you. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of the system and on behalf of all of our students, staff, and families. And I want to wish you all a very happy and joyful and peaceful Pride Month. And I look forward to working on many of those things that you raised that we can do better here at RPS to continue to be supportive of and love all of our students, all of our staff, all of our families. So with that, have a wonderful evening. Happy Pride Month, and we'll catch you next week. Bye, everybody.
Hi, happy Pride Month.